Welcome to the Yaktown frequency. And tonight we got a special guest in the building, Jacob Tail. So how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing amazingly well, thank you. It's a beautiful sunny day in military occupied Los Angeles.
Okay. How's life been lately? You've been doing any good music?
Actually, so I'm glad you liked that. I'm working on, and I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you liked that too. I have you edit that out. My God, I'm glad you liked that, and I'm glad you asked it. So that goes back to why I'm like I always read my emails before I send them. I am not looking forward to working with you. Wait a second, I didn't mean. Um, no, I've been working on this album called Hard to Be Human, and it's going to be a late January release. Five of the tracks have already been released as singles, and they're up on Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal and Deezer, whatever that is. I actually just put them up on SoundCloud, where you can also there's a bonus track you can hear, Names of the Dead, that's also going to be on the album, and that's also out there. If you go to my Instagram page or you go to my TikTok, I put those songs up there too. But so I've been working with this great producer, Don Douglas. He has an outfit in Phoenix called Desert Island Radio. Desert Island Studio. And I met him through this Irish DJ who has his own station. He's known as the Retweeter on X, and he was a fan of my music and started playing it. He introduced me to Mick Combs and Ivy Stone, who are part of a group called Mega Queen out of Adelaide Music, and they have a little boutique indie label, and that's out in Australia. They have a boutique indie label called Eclectric Records, and it's just it's like a communal. We all kind of do our own part and help support one another. But their in-house producer is Don, and that's how I met Don. And we started working on the album in June. We've mastered nine of the tracks. There's two other tracks we've done that are going to be singles and will show up on the next album. So I'm sorry, eight of the tracks are mastered with two other tracks that are done. And one of them is going to be probably, I'm going to release One Final Thought of You next month as a single. That'll be on the album after this one. But we got three tracks left to go. So right now, this month, I'm finishing up those tracks, and it's one of them is a song that I mentioned before, Trad Wife, which I wrote initially for somebody else, and there's this arpeggio part that's killing me, and I will never write another arpeggio. I'm not going to do another guitar arpeggio part for a long time. But that's what I'm working on. I'm wrapping up the last three songs, and then he's going to take it. And he's already mastered all the stuff, but kind of remastered again. And we're going to figure out because the order as I'm obsessed with kind of the order of tracks, and I can't. I'm just oh God, I have no I just where should everything go? And it keeps changing on a daily basis. But that's what I've been working on. I'm really proud of it. It's the the most proud of. And I have to say it's like this total team effort with Don. He's not just a producer, he's a collaborator. He really helped me, shape the songs and what he added to it. I'm playing guitar and bass and singing. But he added, he plays drums and he plays the keys, and he added a lot of stuff to it, and it just sounds great. And just if anybody out there who's curious, check it out. It's up there on all the streamers, and the album will be the full album, 11 tracks, will be a January release.
Okay, thank you for letting us know that. And I definitely go check it out. I already listened to a couple of them myself, so he is telling the truth when he
Thank
said
you.
there are some masterpieces that are coming together.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's beautiful to hear that you found somebody that's especially as musically in love with music that you are, that's helping you. And it
Yeah,
sounds
and
like you have
he
a
he
great team.
actually we have a very sort of shared musical universe. And so he'll give me the directions he gives me will be like very like specific to that. He'll be like less Buddy Guy and more Steve Vai. I mean, just kind of like, notes like that where it's like, okay, I see exactly where you're trying to go with this. But no, it's been wonderful. And my friend Mick actually did lead guitar on the title track, "Hard to Be Human," and he just added so much to that. And there's one of the tracks that I'm working on right now. So much of the time, Ivy's adding piano and percussion to it. So it's like I'm working with other musicians and working with Don. It's been a great experience.
Sounds like you got a great team with you. So let's take it back a little bit. How did
Sure.
music first find you? And was it something you grew up around or something that fell in love with you and that you fell
I
in
also
love
so
with later?
I'm gonna take you way back to my roots, and I'm agnostic, but I was raised a reformed Jewish, and I actually was a very quiet kid, afraid of everything, very sort of the only thing that everybody was sort of measured by was their academic achievements, and I was, not very academically inclined. And I started studying for my bar mitzvah when I was 12, and I started working with this woman named Ava Sharfman. She was the vocal coach, and I started learning all the chants I was doing, and then suddenly we got to a point where we were surpassing what all the other kids were doing. I was going to do the whole service where weren't going to even need a cantor. And she was so tough that she didn't even tell me. She was one of those great teachers that really knows how to motivate you. She was so kind, but she would always push you but in that loving mentor way where she respected you and saw you as an individual. So she didn't tell me this was something that was like, oh, like you're doing the whole service yourself. This is something that's not usually done. And so I had no idea that I had any sort of musical prowess. And then the night before my bar mitzvah, I they would call up they did two services every Saturday. And so in front of the whole temple, hundreds of people, they would call up the two kids who were being bar mitzvahed or bat mitzvahed the next day and have you chant like one or two lines.
Okay.
And I was more nervous about this than I was for my own bar mitzvah. I was so nervous because I didn't know these people. I didn't know, so, all these people. And it's like they would call you up and you had to sit with all the bigwigs, the rabbi and the cantor and all the, the heads of it was just you're up on the dais and all these people are watching you. And I was so nervous about these two lines and about screwing them up and messing them up and just, going over and over in my head. Okay, okay. And they finally called me up, and I go up there and I chant the two lines, and the place is just dead silent. And I'm walking back, and just the expression on everybody, there's like 12, 13 people up on stage with me. Their expressions were like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, oh God, I
I
broke it.
I screwed up.
I broke it. Well, like I'm like, yeah, I broke something. I broke it all. And I just sat down and kind of sank in my chair and had to stay up there for the rest of the service. The cantor comes up to me, Cantor Cohen, who would later become like a mentor of mine, comes over to me and he's like, who are you? And I said, I'm Jacob Tell. And he's like, okay, do you want to be the junior cantor for our Rosh Hashanah service, and be in the choir for the other things? And the rabbi comes up to me and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Again, I'm Jacob." And and it was like I then became for the next 2 years, I would do Rosh Hashanah morning service, the whole service as the cantor, and then I participated in so although I'm not religious myself, and always sort of, whatever, I think faith is everybody's own business, as long as your faith doesn't infringe on people's freedom. I'm all for it. But it was the first time I was like, oh, I'm good at something. I actually have something as a human being, as an individual that I can do. And it wasn't long after that that, I mentioned my mom taking me to see earlier when we were chatting. I mentioned how my mom, a couple of years later, summer before my high school freshman year, my mom took me to see La Bamba, the Richie Valens pick, and just being really like, oh, I got to get a guitar now. Mostly because it was like, oh, that's like a great way to, to get a woman to fall in love with you. But also, oh, like I can do this with music now. So it was really those two things, kind of this really formal training I had as a cantor and a choir member, and then as a vocalist, and then being inspired to play guitar and because of, Richie Valens was a songwriter, singer-songwriter, being one of those, and then always sort of gravitating toward other singer-songwriters. And people kind of always put an acoustic guitar in my hand. They'd keep me away from the electric, so I kind of um I mean, I gravitated toward, like indie rock, indie folk, and kind of kept writing those songs. And like I mentioned earlier, those first attempts were awful. And it, just kept writing, and then started noticing, oh, people liking them and reacting to them differently. Yeah, that's how I got into it.
So on that note of people liking your music and that kind of being your first instance of finding that moment, like, okay, this might be the real deal. When would you
Yeah.
say that you actually had that specific moment that, okay, this is
Oh.
exactly what I'm doing for real?
I think it was every time there was a girl I liked, and I would she'd come by my place, or I'd go by her place with my guitar, and I would play a song I was writing, and I would get you can sense that feedback, that you were every time that happened when I was a teenager, I was like, okay, I'm on to something. And that was kind of the greatest validation I could get. And it wasn't until I started, I was around 15, 16, I started playing for this group called Numbers, and I was the youngest member by far. They were all in college, and there was the drummer, Mickey was a senior in high school, but I was a sophomore, and I was the lead guitarist, which was not a position I should have before. But when I was playing with them, and I really in playing shows, we played at the Roxy and the Whiskey, and we had a show because of our manager at what is now the El Capitan Theater. It was called Hollywood Live back then, and we would do a show every Saturday there. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, like this is something this is definitely something I can do. Um, and just continuing through college, playing, I would get together with other musicians and started playing my own stuff at coffee houses, at little festivals they would have. And the way that again, what I learned right away, that same silence I experienced the night I was 12, like, you're doing something right when it becomes silent. And in fact, for me, like, whenever when I'm trying something out, I'll go to an open mic night, and I'll make sure I don't know anybody in the audience. And when I go out there and I start playing a song, and everybody who's out there, who's there to hear their friends play, when they stop talking, when you can hear the silence as you're playing, that's when you know you've written a good song,
Yeah, you are
because they're
100%.
listening to it. Yeah.
Yep, you are
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When you got the audience fully engaged, you know you got them.
Mhm.
You know you got
Mhm.
them.
And there's nothing like that feeling, because it's so immediate, and it's the greatest feeling there is.
Yep.
To just know, oh yeah, I've engaged these people, and I have something here that's worth working on, and that's worth sharing with more people.
I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but who were some of your earlier influences that shaped your sound and mindset? I know you said Chuck Berry, the Beatles.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, I mean, definitely the Beatles, and I mentioned sort of as an agnostic person, it was the closest I've come to a religious experience was listening to Sergeant Pepper on vinyl for the first time, and then really doing a deep dive on their music, and then learning about their influences, like Chuck Berry, and like you mentioned, and Smokey Robinson. and the Shirelles, all the Motown Stax artists that they were into, all the R&B acts that they were into, and then also like Buddy Holly and all the sort of more rockabilly Chet Atkins, those learning about them. And that was just sort of my like 101 on songwriting, like how to write great songs and being open to listening to a lot of R&B at the same time, yeah, getting into, Pink Floyd and, just rock, I mentioned like Desperado, the Eagles album, which I really like, but like Fleetwood Mac and getting into Bruce Springsteen and Leonard Cohen, Harry Chapin. And then later getting into, like Nico Case and like we talked about like Wise Blood later on in life, getting into more a lot of the like I love Lana Del Rey, but it's really like the things that I get I'm just I get inspired by just good music. When I hear a good song, whatever the genre is, that just makes me want to write,
Yeah,
you
same.
know? And yeah, and it's like, so that's the thing that I dig the most is like trying to listening to new stuff or hearing stuff that I'm just like, oh, this just is so good. It just inspires me to want to keep creating. But those were definitely like influences on me. And like I mentioned, like, like John Lennon talking about how a lot of their songs were them doing like, oh, that's our Nina Simone song, that's our Willie Dixon song, that's our Chuck Berry song. Kind of like instead of learning songs, trying to write a song like theirs in their style, and then letting it naturally become, my own. And really, nothing's ever finished. It's just abandoned, right? I forget who said that, but it's just sort of like some songs, come out just the music and lyrics come together so quickly. But other things like take their time and just sort of like taking my time with stuff and I think that for me, the music, the melody has always come really easily. It's always like I'm like a conduit more than anything else. I'll hear the verse, and then I'll hear the chorus, and then the bridge is just sort of me riffing on those, and that's kind of the fun part. But I love bridges. I'm obsessed with bridges. But yeah, but really now it's like I'll take months to work on the lyrics. And I realize like each one is it's like for me it's like a short story. It's like writing like a good short story. And really like the lyrics I have to just be there, they have to be at a certain level, even if I'm just doing a demo. I'm like not even going to do a demo of something until the lyrics are ready. And that lets you learn the song better. It lets you kind of find other, you start thinking about, okay, well, what's the guitar part going to be like? What's the bass part going to be like? What are some things I can talk about the producer, ideas I have for arrangements, but also how are other sort of musical themes, how can I weave them in and out of the song while really working on those lyrics?
So, is there anything that you would be able to tell any of your fellow indie rock, indie folk artists about your first studio session? How was it like for you? And maybe that encouraged them to go ahead and get in there and do their first studio session
Yeah, well,
themselves.
I still, it's like because of modern technology, I use Studio One, which is just, a DAW, and I record my vocals and my guitar parts and my bass parts, and then I send it to Don in Arizona, and he works his magic and masters everything, and he has a full setup there. And so I've never like actually stepped foot in like the studio. But what I would say is just, we, like GarageBand, which is like I have stuff up on Spot. We talked about it. I have stuff up on Spotify that I can't listen to now after working with Don, but that was just done on the GarageBand app. There's all these free apps that you can use, these free DAW apps. Fender has one that's pretty good. I would say just start using that and get your music out there and put it up there because it's like proof of concept. It's like it shows to yourself, oh, I can do this, but also you'll get to once you start getting it out there and connecting with people on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, you're going to meet like your own, Mick and Ivy, your own Don, and you're going to connect with people who can really help you take it. Collaborators who believe in what you're doing and who are supportive with what you're doing, and who can help you take it to the next level. I think it's all about just getting it out there. So like download those apps and just write those songs and do it the best you can and don't overthink it and start getting it out there because you'll start getting that feedback and that's going to be the most important thing to help you grow artistically.
So you saying
That's
stop
that's what I
focusing
would
on the
tell them
nerves.
and what I constantly remind myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, you saying stop focusing on the nervousness of actually doing it, actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's never gonna be perfect.
Right? As has been doing it for 6 years and you doing it for longer, we are telling you it's never going to sound perfect. It no matter how long you're doing it, it will never sound perfect.
But also what you said earlier, if you're not nervous, there's something wrong.
There's
Like
something
if you're
wrong.
not, you gotta be, I mean, we're not AI, we're not machines. And that's what separates you. And it's like those mistakes you make, you might find lead you to like make the song better. So I think it's like you have to be open to failing. And failure is the greatest teacher, but it's also like happy mistakes happen too.
Hmm.
And it's like to sort of just be open to that and also it's like nothing happens, it's like a process, and to be very patient with it and to realize that you're not perfect now but you're going to get better, and by working with people who you think are talented, that's going to help you grow artistically, grow musically, and to just be open to their suggestions and their ideas, and the sooner you get that process going, the sooner you'll start it's a journey. You gotta look at it as like a lifelong thing that you're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna be on this road. And it's not what happens tomorrow, it's what happens next year. It's what happens 3 years from now. What happens after I'm no longer on this physical plane. I just want to, you just want to create, only do it if you want to make good music. That's what I would say. That's the most important thing is if you want to make good music, great music with other talented folks, pursue it. Otherwise, there's other things you can do.
So being on the topic of being vulnerable as a musician, letting those other people critique you and that keeping that vulnerability open, how do you balance being vulnerable in your music versus keeping some parts of your life private? Because I know me, I
Mm.
fail pretty hard because I like to stay,
Right.
I like to stay private as much as possible. But I know there is times where your song calls for you to be a little bit vulnerable, depending on this, especially the theme of the song.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually, it's funny. I don't, I think that when I'm being my most honest and my most genuine and my most, like exposing those personal things, that's when I feel like I'm onto something. And I sort of like, don't, it sort of makes me go even deeper. We talked about earlier, it's like the more specific the story you're telling is, the more universal it becomes. Because people, it's like these shared experiences we have, and you're giving your own account of it, your own point of view. And so I've never had a problem. I think it's like I want to just I think to me it's like the most important thing about any music that I like is it genuine? Is it honest? Is it really is the writer, is the artist, are they opening up their soul to the audience? That's the thing that inspires me the most. So I try to do the same thing. I don't have a problem with being vulnerable. I actually it sort of it motivates me to just write better. So I try to get in that space of, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable.
Okay, so you speaking of writing, is that one of your favorite parts of creating music? Is it writing, recording, performing, or seeing people reacting to it?
I mean, I think there, like, I love performing. I love recording because it's like performing, comes with its own, talk about getting I get just the worst stage fright, and then I'm fine once I remind myself to stay in the moment and have a good time. But man, waiting, before you're called out on stage, it's terrible every time. I love recording because there's so many like technical aspects, and that's when like you can really like dig into your like musicianship, but there's nothing like working on a new song and always being surprised by it because you're like, where is this coming from? And oh, thank God there's another one. Thank God I'm not done. Thank God I still have more things to say, more things to write about. I'm still inspired. I'm still, so but that like when you're creating something and then like the two aspects of that is just the moment of creating it is like a like the best drug in the world. But then when you're really crafting the lyrics, when you're really working on the song, that's the other part. It's like, putting the puzzle pieces together. That's the creative part of it is the thing I love the most about it. Absolutely.
Me too. I love being as creative as possible and sitting down in front of maybe just my TV, sitting there writing
Yeah.
for hours on hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't even realize how much time has gone by because you're
No,
just like, oh, I've been working on this verse. Oh, it's yeah, it's like, whoa,
it's been like
7 hours
3 hours.
ago.
Yeah, like, oh, I've been wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So, speaking on that note,
Like,
so
why do I feel, oh, I haven't eaten in 3 days. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So speaking
I
on
should
that
probably
note,
eat a sandwich at some
yeah,
point. Yeah.
at some point I should probably start doing something for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I probably should shower, maybe drink a glass of water. But that's kind of the thing though, is like I love getting so caught up in it that it's like this you just sort of forget about everything. I mean, that's when you're onto something, is that
Hmm.
it like it captures you. You're captivated by the process, and it's yeah, that's a really cool thing.
So being captivated by the process, can you kind of walk us into your process of creating a song, like where your writing style and methods and techniques?
Yeah, I mean, I used to like we were talking about earlier. Every time I try to sit down and I'm like, and I shall write the greatest song that has ever been written, or I'm gonna write like the song that gets 100,000 hits or whatever. That never happens. It's usually like a reaction to something, something I'm reading or something I'm watching, an emotion even. I'll hear the melody, and I'll hear the verse. I'll hear the chorus, and that'll start coming in, and then with just based on the sound of that, it sort of informs. It's like an encoded message. It's like, this is the melody and this is the meaning. This is the theme you're going to be examining, and then like I said, I just try to grab the iPhone, grab the iPad, and hit the voice memo and find the right chords and get the melody down, so I don't have to worry. Because that's the worst thing, right? When you come up with a good melody and then you're like, and I forgot it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just gone. I have no.
Just
Oh God,
gone.
the greatest. Yeah,
Like,
it's the
what did
greatest
I
melody.
say? Like, oh my
Yeah, what
God.
did I? But so I, you sort of like, so, and the words are like gobbledygook, right? It's like, "Yeah, and I found this girl and she works at her town on the bus." And it's like not worrying about the lyrics, but just getting the finding the right chords and getting the melody out. And then, okay, I can work on what the, but so to me, it's like like I said, the melody, it's like, I don't know, it's like it's like the universe is like calling to me, and it's like I'm triggered by something, like I said, like something's happened to me, or something I've read or seen. I'm experiencing something, and like I'm open to how that sounds musically, and it comes through, and I just got to get that down. And then to me, the real tough part is getting the right lyrics to fit the melody. So like the music part always comes really naturally. It's that the finding the right lyrics
Yeah.
uh is what is what I labor over. But again, I love that. I love that whole process.
Yep, that sounds like me too. I love that whole process. Normally, I just find me a beat and try to write to it. Then I'll be like, oh my God, yeah, no, that don't go with that.
Yeah.
That don't go with that. That don't go with that. And then I finally
Yeah.
find that one where I'm like, let me just stop focusing on the lyrics and then let me focus on the energy of how I want the song to actually be.
Yeah.
And then I find
But
that
it's
right one. And
but it's amazing like you're talking about like just hearing a beat or something. It's amazing how something just like that,
yeah,
just by hearing a beat can like make you create something from nothing and just be the only inspiration you need.
yes,
Like you never know kind of what's going to be the catalyst, but it's like waiting for that catalyst to happen.
it's so hard just to
Yeah.
wait for the catalyst.
Yeah.
And I will say this to my fans, if you are like a hip hop maker or
Yeah.
anything, never stick with the very first beat you find.
Right.
There is 9 times out of 10 after you do it and you probably record to it, you're going to throw the song away.
But that's the great thing
Yeah,
about having the technology of a garage band or a Fender app is you can start working all that out. You can get
yep,
your beat down. You know, in my case, it's like, okay, like these are the chords and then I have to figure out well, what's the rhythm to that, you
yeah,
know? Because I'm like, you know, like I always start like in that I it always for me everything always starts with an acoustic. And that's always the first thing I put down. And then it's like, okay, well then I got to find the right beat and I got to find the right, you know, rhythm to that. But it's like, yeah, you're totally right. It's like trial and error, and you got to have fun with it and be like open to experimenting. And it's like, how many times, I'm sure this has happened to you, you've worked on something for hours and hours and hours, and you're like, it's done, it's great. And then you come back the next day and you're like, I got to do that every part all over again. And it's like just being cool with, okay, well, that's how this works
yep,
is like, and then coming back the next day and being like, no, it was right the first time and I got to do it, but I got to do it all over again. I always like whenever I redo tracks, I always start things over because I don't
mhm.
want, you know, it's like that's part of the process. That's part of the fun. But it's like, yeah, it's like take your time with it. It's like there's no rush and make
No,
it, you know, get it to where where how you envision it in your head. Like just push yourself to get it there.
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Follow what you see in your head. Is how
Mhm.
what I would tell musicians. If you see it a certain way in your project going, hey, talk to your producer and let them know, like, hey,
Yeah.
I see this track sounding just like this, or I see me going this way into this pocket of a flow on this. How do you feel about that if I did it here? Just go ahead and be musically
But
inclined to
but
type
but
those
also what
chances.
I've gotten really into lately is not giving anybody any notes. So like just sort of sending like when I'm working with, but that's because I trust Don. So
Yeah.
I trust Don's instincts more than my own. So I'll just send him, you know, okay, I wrote the bass and you know the here's the acoustic and the bass and my vocals and I'll send it to him and he'll always come back. Well, if he doesn't tell me to redo stuff first, which he always does in a very nice way. It's seldom that he'll not say, "Hey, like this isn't, you know, this or that, you know, vocals, blah blah blah, got to be redone." And he advocates for my own songs, so I'm not going to argue with him. I'm not going to be like, "No, I'm not going to do another take." I'm always like more than happy to do another take because it's like, you know, you can always do it better, you know, and
Right.
and better now than you know when it's up on Spotify and you're
Yep.
like, ah, I wish I had, oh God, I'm a little flat there. You know, there's nothing worse than that
Nothing
feeling.
worse
Like,
than hearing
oh,
it
oh,
back.
people are listening to this. Oh no, what have I done? And so that's but 9 times out of ten he'll come back with something, and I'm like, that's better than anything I could have thought of. But again, you have to find a collaborator that you're that comfortable with. Otherwise, yeah, push for the way you see it, but I'll also be open to if you really respect and trust those people, be open to their feedback and their ideas because they'll help you shape. You know, it's sort of like I feel like I'll write the song, but I'm not sonically responsible for it.
Mm,
You know, and
yes.
having a great producer, they find the sound that makes this that captures what you know your intent, what you wanted to do. And but again, it's like you have to be working with a really good producer who gets your stuff. And I'm really fortunate to be working with someone like Don who just gets like we have a very just our we're both around the same age and we both grew up listening to the same music and we both have this wide appreciation of all these genres that we can pull from. So we always like talk in very specific terms. And his direction is always very inspiring. It's not like do this exactly like this. It's always more of a coming from like a philosophical point of view. So just I've learned to be really open to people who's but again, and you were talking earlier about your listening party folks and how important it is to have. That's another thing. By getting your music out there, you meet other people, and you meet people who aren't just like your buddies from high school or college, or work, but people who are actually musicians and songwriters to give you who you trust, whose work you respect, but a group of people, a cadre, if you will of folks that could that can really help you shape stuff and but being very cautious about who you let into that group because the worst thing you can do is let in people who are just going to be judgmental and tear down what your ideas are. You don't want to do that. So being very cautious, but once you start finding those people, and you'll know in your you just know it that
Yeah.
these people are whatever their genre is or their background is, they just are on the same wavelength you are. And to be open to the suggestions of the folks that you respect.
Yeah, that'd be a bad thing to have a circle full of people who have a glass of haterade each day.
Oh yeah. Nothing worse than that. And the thing is that everybody's going to experience people who give them awful feedback and you gotta like but right away when you feel it instinctively and it's like whenever it's thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's just all you got to say. There's no don't engage with them any further. If you feel like it's coming from a toxic place, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Move on to the next opinion. Those are people that you don't want. Like if somebody and one of the warning signs is when somebody's talking about things that have nothing to do with, the structure of the song, the melody, or the lyrics. Like when somebody's talking about, we were talking about earlier, like your hook or your beat or what it's like, well, that's not, I mean, that's later. Okay.
Yeah,
But first, if we're just talking about, the shaping the song and getting the song in a certain place where then you can start adding arrangements. But a red flag to me is when people, are like, the bass line is great. It's like,
here we
great.
go.
That doesn't,
Right.
I'm not, so I'm not going to take any of I'll move on to or, more often than not, like the baseline is terrible. It's like, well, that's not really, that's like, not, that's like a placeholder right now. And,
Right.
and, and so, in your bones when somebody's giving you advice that's not speaking direct. And also we were talking, like, it's really important to find people who respect what your intent. What are your intentions in writing the song? So what are you trying to say? And are you checking all the boxes that make getting your message, your story out there effective? And that's how you judge to me, when I'm listening to somebody's song, that's what I'm judging is okay, what are their intentions? And are they successfully meeting those intentions at the best of their ability? And that's the best feedback. And if the feedback isn't based on that, if it's based on these other things, do not engage. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, keep it pushing. No, you are
Yeah.
exactly right. So let's take a little moment to spotlight your new project that's coming out. So, Hard to Be Human.
Mhm.
What inspired it?
So it's funny because it's different from the song you chose, which I really respect. Which is like a very Buddy Holly doo-wop inspired someone to cry to. Very, very love song ballad. Hard to Be Human. I started writing it. It was last a year, a little over a year ago. It was like the lead up, September, October, the lead up to the 2024 presidential election, and I realized that things were not going to go the way that I was hoping they would go. I mean, I think, this that moment of terror we all experienced when Biden that debate was just okay. It was like what is going on? And the fact that you were talking to people who seemed to forget how terrible the Trump administration was. They were like, well, no, COVID. And it was like, no, it was way before COVID. Things, the economy, the same, not as bad as it is now, but the same kind of cynicism that was being, um, just the same sort of cruelty that seems so popular with him and his administration, and this sort of the importance of the free market over your own personal freedom. So it was then I just sort of was inspired to, instead of being anxious and feeling hopeless, I was like, well, let me write about it, because one thing I can do is chronicle this. And I started writing songs like, Hard to Be Human, like Cracks Appearing All Around, like Shutdown. They're all up on Spotify and Apple Music and wherever you listen to your music, your streamer of choice. But I just those songs just started coming to me almost without me thinking about it. And it was like every day. There's a song, one of the tracks I'm working on right now, You Know How This Ends. It like came to me after I had just, was just reading the news. I was like, oh God, like, it was it just came to me that's what inspired me. So it was all very much songs with a few exceptions. I threw in there's one or two love songs in there for kind of to give some relief, because otherwise, and also it was like not every song is, some of the songs are political, but there's also songs that are political without mentioning politics. And that's like one of the tricks I've been learning, is that people are turned off right away by politics. So find other ways to talk about it without talking about it, and lyrically, and that was another sort of. So I started thinking about, well, what are not just people like politically, but how are they personally being affected, and what are their own internal struggles, like with anxiety and with depression, and with just trying to get by, like how hard it is, and sort of focusing on songs that talk about that. So the album is sort of accidentally, I wrote a concept album, and I didn't mean to, but I that's what happened, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really proud of it. And I sort of, I think it's interesting because the love songs I write are what people gravitate toward the most, but this is a work that I'm hoping with some time people will be able to listen to with a little less anxiety, because I get it. Like, you want to escape all this. Like, I totally get it. But like I said, it's more like I'm chronicling this, and I'm one of many artists who are. And I'm part of that tradition of, person with guitar, like strumming a few chords, writing about what's happening. I'm just, another voice in that long tradition that goes back, hundreds of years. Or I guess they had lutes before they had guitars or whatever. But that's, so I'm just, yeah, I mean, that's the album is there, it's funny. Not all of it is political. Like I said, it sort of segs away from that and goes more into like all the things that we're feeling internally right now, that anxiety, that depression, that hopelessness, but also that need to find hope and that need to find humor in things is also there. Yeah, it's got a lot going on, and I hope that people dig it and kind of embrace it, and aren't, turned off by the subject matter, and sort of approach it with the same appreciation they would to as like a love song, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think with like a year from now, it'll be a lot easier to listen to. But I got to get it out now because it's about what's happening now.
Right. And you like you said, time will help the masses digest it and listen to it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but as they say, right now the wound is fresh, so it's
Yeah.
always hard to hear what you don't want to hear at when you really need to hear it. So
Yeah, and it's like what I'm compelled to write about now. And it's like because I have all these, the love songs, look, the love songs come easy, right?
hmm
People want to hear the love songs, but the love songs come easy because we all want to talk about love. We all want to, well, that's why we all listen to music, and that's why we all get into music is because of love songs. And so that then the album I'm working on, Love's a Lonely Town, that's going to be the follow-up to this that Don and I are already mapping out for next year. We're going to start recording it in January when Hard to Be Human goes live, as the kids say. That's all love songs. It's going to be 11 tracks, all love songs, no politics. And because that's what I normally write, someone to cry to, the song that you're going to be playing, that's more of like my what I write about. And this was like a surprise to me. Hard to Be Human is a was just a for me just like I said, I gotta, instead of being anxious, instead of being depressed about all this, let me chronicle it. I call it a chronicle of cope. Is sort of, if I would give the album a subtitle, that would be
Chronicle.
it.
That's a good subtitle. Chronicle of Hope.
Thanks.
That is a great one.
Thanks. Yeah.
See, you said earlier you wasn't that creative with titles. See?
No, well, not when it comes to band titles.
Ah, man.
That's what yeah, no, Foot was my, like names like that are what I come up with. Yeah, no, it's not I'm not good with the but no, but song titles are hard too. I mean, that's like the hardest part is coming up with like a good song. Like, I mean, Cracks Appearing All Around was originally called Problems at Home, which wasn't even lyrics from the uh um
The original
song. And I'm
song.
like, what? No, I have problems at home. It like sounds like a completely different, but I was like, yeah, problems at home meaning stateside. So but cracks appearing all around is in the song, and it's part of the chorus, and it's a better fit. But yeah, no, it's like, it's funny because it's like the lyrics, they take so long, but that song, you got to have a great song title, or else
Yeah.
what people are going to be like, I don't want to listen to a song called Foot. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you might find the target audience. You never know. You might find the target audience that likes that.
I've always, well, I have like if I, because I'll think of like really bad, like I was thinking of the House of Missing Thumbs as like an album, and I'm like, it's just like so stupid that it's like, come on, you want to listen to the House of Missing Thumbs, don't you? But so it's like that's the kind of thing I have to avoid, is kind of like trying to amuse myself with stupid sounding titles, but because it's hard. You want to attract listeners, not repel them.
Right.
Uh, or maybe you do. I don't know. It depends on what your intentions are. But maybe all you want to do is repel them. But I like music that's inviting, and so that's like the music I'm trying to make.
So every artist hits a wall, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you have hit one yourself, just like I've obviously hit one. What's been one
Yeah.
of the hardest lessons you had to learn so far in the making music?
The hardest lesson was being away from music for 18 years, because I was mentioning, after college I got into grant writing for nonprofits, and fundraising in nonprofits is like any aspect of nonprofits, where like you always need, you're always behind with payments, and you're always raising money. I always like refer to people in fundraising and nonprofits as the air traffic controllers of the nonprofit world, because it never ends. It's like there's just a constant need, and there's always a crisis. And I unfortunately, when I got into it, 9/11 happened, and then the financial crisis, and then COVID, and it's like there was always, so for 18 years of my life, I was increasingly becoming separated from the thing I loved the most. That was the biggest wall, was coming to a realization that what I was doing for a living had taken over what I wanted to do with my life. And trying to no and making it a mission to get back to do what I wanted to do with my life was the biggest wall I had to push through. And like I said before, I'll do some grant writing jobs here and there to pay the bills. But since last, October, November, when I started writing those songs again, is when I just was like, no, I'm just going to focus on this. And I've never been more poor or more happy in my entire life. And that was the biggest wall. And so since then, it's fortunately, the songs keep coming, and sometimes they're about, capturing the moment, or they're, yeah, those love songs that everybody wants to hear. But I gotta say, like, getting better at, if it's about now, okay, let's go more internal with this and make it more universal. And I don't want to alienate somebody because of what their political beliefs are, or what their, spiritual beliefs are, or what their philosophical beliefs are. So how can I make it more, the message of the song more universal? Because it all comes back to the fact that right now in our country, this isn't about politics. It's about class. It's class warfare that's going on. We have a few people who have gamed the system by not paying their workers enough, and holding on to all. We shouldn't have all these billionaires. And it's about class. And all of us, 80% of the country is struggling. They're working paycheck to paycheck. And we need to all get together and sit down and realize that what this is all about is we all want the same things. We all want a job where we're treated with dignity, where we're paid respectful wages. We want to have affordable access to healthcare. We want to have affordable housing. We want to have safe working conditions. Those are all the things, affordable childcare. It's what all of us want. Let's put all the other things, let's set them aside for now. And that's exactly, I don't want to get too political here, but it behooves the donor class and the political class, and that's both parties. They're making a lot of money right now off the status quo, and it behooves them to have a electorate, constituents who are disconnected, disenfranchised, and misinformed, so that they feel like, oh, my vote doesn't count. And we got to just all sit down and realize we all want the same thing. And 80% of us are in the same boat. And we have to bring back the fact that, we need heroes. This is the age of when we need heroes. And I think being kind, being compassionate, being ethical, being considerate, and being patient are acts of courage. And let's practice those every day. And like I said, they'll keep coming up with excuses, whether it's, oh, well, we don't, have the same spiritual beliefs. We don't have the same ethnical backgrounds, whatever. Those are all meaningless. We're all people. We're all the same on the inside, and we all want the same things, which is to be happy.
Yep. No, you are exactly
Oh,
correct.
and to be loved, and to love back. So let's all get there together.
Right. We do have to band together, and we're only going to get there to those moments together, and
Mhm.
can't be divided trying to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's sort of like I'm trying to, like, that's my as I knock over my Klonopin bottle. That's where, I mean, that's really where I'm trying to go with writing, because that's really what I want to do, is to bring people together so that we all can start talking and treating each other like human beings again, and realizing that, we all need as many allies as we can get. And we're all in this together, and let's help uplift one another.
No, you are
All
exactly.
you need is love, man.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Just,
know?
just
Right?
love.
Yeah, I mean, it goes a long way, but, like, I mean, John Lennon was right. All you need is love. It's like that. That's like it all comes down to that. And there's so many people right now who, because they're working so hard, because they're so stressed out, because everything is so expensive, they don't have time to be compassionate. They're so much in a rush, but they don't have time to be loved or to love back. And it's like drop all that for just a few moments and appreciate the love that's all around you and the beauty that's all around you and embrace that and focus on that.
Right, and just
Man, I
focus
sound
on
like a
that
total hippie. Yeah.
vibe. It's okay. So
But
before we
that's why, to kind of come full circle, all the songs I'm writing about what's happening right now are ultimately love songs. It's just not the love between, a guy and a girl. It's the love among us all that we all share.
the love of the land, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so before we wrap it up, we're gonna do a little lightning round and
Oh, uh-oh.
little fun personal lightning round to, lighten the mood up a little bit.
Mhm.
And,
Oh, yeah, because of me. I'm sorry about
No,
that. Yeah,
no,
because I'm like,
no.
no, let me.
No, we just want the fans to get to know you a little bit better
Sure. Appreciate it.
with a fun little way,
Yeah,
some fun
absolutely.
questions at the ends. So if I open your playlist right now, what would be
Uh,
the most unexpected song I see there?
the most unsuspected song. Okay, you're gonna make me do this. Oh, you okay? Tears, Tears by Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I
So
can't blame you. I'm pretty sure
again,
my most unexpected one would be Shot Clock by LMA. So
okay, but that's more respectable. Like um I'm really embarrassed by that one.
you shouldn't. That's like be
I wish I could say something like, Beethoven's Fifth, or, like something, I mean, doing something a little more,
I'm I mean, if
yeah.
you ask the little kid Yaktown Drew what his most
Yeah.
unexpected song would have been Who Let the Dogs Out.
Okay, well, again, because I'm 52, so I'm like, this woman in her mid 20s writing songs about how like these sensual songs. I'm like, I shouldn't be. I'm not for me.
Said it should not.
These aren't being written for you. But I would say that's probably like the most but the ones that I was talking earlier, like the things that I'm obsessed right now, well, I listen to on a weekly basis. I'm saying this to give me a little more cred, but Nina Simone, I Shall Be Released, Al Green, How Do You Mend a Broken Heart, Femme Fatale, by Velvet Underground, Cosmic Dancer by T-Rex, or the Nick Cave version, and anything by Wise Blood or Lana Del or Nico Case. But probably by Nico Case, I think I Wish I Was the Moon Tonight is an amazing song. And this is actually, what would surprise, well, probably not surprise people, but Midnight Oil, there's a song from the 80s called Blue Mining Town. And it's the one that's, who's gonna save me? Who's gonna save me? And it's always been one of my favorite songs, and I listen to that all the time. So I like go out there and listen to Blue Mining Town.
Okay.
It's amazing because it's written, yeah, it's just amazing. It's an amazing song. So,
Okay. I'll definitely give it a listen. You know I love me
but
some
also listen to Cosmic Dancer because it's an amazing song too, and it's infectious.
You get one dream collab, dead or alive. Whose is it?
Wait, so I get one
You get one dream collab for a song, dead or alive. Who you choosing?
oh. Because I thought it went out a little bit, so I said you get one drink, and I was like, well, obviously an Alabama Slammer. Um, so one dream collab, I'd have to say Sabrina Carpenter. No, I'd have to say, I mean, come on, John Lennon.
That's
I can't,
I can't blame you. That's a
or
great pick.
Paul McCartney or George Harrison. Um, because those three, nobody has had more of a not only musical but like philosophical impact on my life. But yeah, my top choice would be John Lennon, because I think that just the way he saw the world, it was just his wisdom was amazing, and just to be around that would be cool.
So, what's a weird studio ritual or superstition you have?
Like it's oh, I mentioned this already. So I never breathe through my nose when I sang, only through my mouth. I guess that's not too weird, but I okay. I always my hands are always in my pockets
Okay.
because I think like my hands have to be in my pockets when I'm singing. I don't know why. It's like if they're not in my pockets, I just feel like I got to redo the take. I just I don't know why, and I wish I did. And I probably have to go into therapy to. Oh, here's another weird thing. So I have to listen to a track 3 times in a row
Hmm.
before I can move on, and that's not only with my own music, but with like if you sent me one of your R&B songs before I would get back to you, I'd have to listen to it 3 times in a row. And that's just more of me because I'm like, well, the first time I'm going to be looking at this, and the second time I'm going to be looking at this, and it's not going to be until the third time that I actually hear the thing,
Right.
you know. So that I guess that's not really a. But when it comes to like I just recorded a track, I need to listen to it 3 times in a row. It's like a very OCD thing.
So before we wrap up,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you would like to let the people know, the fans know, besides where they could find you and how to tap into your
Well,
music?
sure. Well, I just want to, thank you again for this opportunity. It's been great, talking to you not only for the interview, but beforehand. Appreciate you getting to know me and talking so much to make this so much fun. And this has been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you, like I said, connecting to my song and wanting to platform it and give me a place where people get to know me a little better, know my music a little better. But yeah, I have the 5 singles from Hard to Be Human, which will be out in January, are available Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Sound.